Welcome to another edition of Car Show Life. My name is Drake Donovan here on NorthcentralPa.com. And since we're recording this episode so close to Mother's Day, I'd like to give a shout out to my mom, whose passion for cars was passed down to me. Her 1971 Camaro RS started my lifelong love affair with Chevrolet and the Camaro. This is one of the few pictures I have of the car. Uh, that's me helping my dad get ready for inspection circa 1978. And the problem with these pictures is anytime there was a picture, it was always of somebody and the car was in the background. So I don't have a full picture of the car. This next shot is my mom and dad in 1972. That's probably the best shot we have of the car. The car was barely a year old, and my parents were about a year away from getting married. And those trophies are not car show trophies. Those are actually motorcycle trophies. My dad used to race flat track oval back in the day. And so since I don't have any full pictures of the car, so since she turned 70 in the year that Camaro turned 50, I took and created this graphic for her that has a 3D model of both her 1971 and her 1996, along with the very few pictures I had of each of those cars. And I took the Camaro 50 logo and made it say Ronnie 70. So that was for her 70th birthday. And then recently, in honor of the 50th anniversary of her buying that 71 Rally Sport, I created a graphic that took all those fragments of pictures and an artistic rendering of that 1971 Rally Sport and gave it to her in a frame that had a gold mat on it. So she loved it. She hung it right up on the wall, right in the living room. So it's rare to have a woman say, "That's going in my living room, not in the garage." So it's very cool. Now, on the other side of the family, my mother-in-law had a cool car, 1967 Mustang Coupe. And we were talking about this recently. She said it was a six-cylinder, it had a three-speed manual, and they drove it all the way from Pennsylvania down to Florida and back. And they moved in that car their entire life, strapped to the hood and the trunk and the roof, or I'm sorry, the roof and the trunk. so, so happy Mother's Day to my mom and my mother-in-law, and to all the awesome women in my life that have influenced me with their cars. And remember, if you have someone in your life that loves cars and you're stuck for a gift idea, with carshowlife.net, you can go check out the car art that we create. We can create a custom keepsake for the person in your life who has everything, and create a custom car art piece with their car that is suitable for framing and that they'll treasure, and maybe, like my mom, hang in the living room and not just in the garage. Now, on the topic of women who love cars, our guest today is someone who uses her passion to help raise money for worthy causes. Of course, car shows are a terrific fundraising event for charities, and the last year has not been so kind to those efforts. But we're looking forward to more shows in 2021 and more chances to generate much needed revenue for those charities and that rely on them and rely on the enthusiasts to show up with their shiny rides and draw a crowd. One person in the center region that has made it her mission to facilitate this is Melanie Henry. She is the Mel behind Mel's Car Shows. Let's give a warm welcome to Car Show Life, Mel Henry. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's so nice to finally meet you in person virtually and
Virtually, yes.
put a face to the name and a voice to the face. So
Yes, thank you for having me. And then same with you. It's nice to put a face to the name.
So I've heard a lot about you from folks in the car community here on the eastern side of central Pennsylvania. And I'm dying to know how you got hooked on cars and how old were you and who was it in your life that lit the fire for your passion for automobiles?
I couldn't tell you how old I was because it's just something that I always remember having. But that would be my dad's 1959 Chevy El Camino. So my dad's the one who got me into it with his car. And I remember riding in it when I was little and then growing up, like the respect with the car. I was not allowed to wash the paint at first. I was allowed to wash the tires, then eventually the wheels, and then the car. So it was definitely through my dad that I got my love of cars and through my mom that I got my love of volunteering. But my dad got the El Camino in the 1970s. He pulled it out of a field in the small town of Beccaria, Pennsylvania, and he restored it back to original. And it's been that way ever since the 70s.
That's awesome. One item on your Facebook page that made me say, I got to get to know her. We both went to Penn State, studied communications, and have worked in radio. Tell me about that career path.
Well, whenever I went to college, I knew that I wanted to work with volunteer in some aspect and I wanted to work with nonprofits. So whenever I went into communications, my goal was to work in nonprofits and raise money for nonprofits. I didn't think it would turn out to be the way that it did. But I did have a job working with the Children's Miracle Network, and I had a fantastic relationship there. And that was straight out of college. So eventually, you want to get a job that's super into your field and what you went to school for.
Hmm.
And that's when the position at the radio station opened up as a sales assistant. So I was making all of those proposals and sales graphics and working on their website. And so that's really, I was like, yes, I finally have a job with what I went to school for. It was a good foundation to start out on.
And then how did you make the transition? Because I know there are a lot of people, radio people, they're friends of mine that might watch this, and it's a tough time for folks in the business because they may be looking to transfer from broadcasting and take their skills that they've honed in radio into other sectors. Tell me about how you transitioned from radio to your current position as the creative marketing specialist at UMI Performance. What kinds of skills that you had honed in radio transferred over to working there?
Working in radio, whenever I accepted the job as a sales assistant, it was making the ideas of the clients come to life. And I had to show them how working with radio would build their business. And that's important for anything. That's you can using the right tools will help build your business, as you know. And
Hmm.
with all of that experience is how I got my job at my performance. They were looking for a graphic designer, and I, loving cars, I felt it was the better industry for me.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how I found myself doing this. I was in radio for about 17 years when you count going
Wow.
way back to college.
Yeah.
I started, actually, I had a job in radio before I even graduated college.
Wow.
So,
That's nice.
I worked at WGMR, licensed to Tyrone, but based in State College. It was an alternative station in 1996, 97. And it was kind of anticlimactic. My senior year, I was doing the 4 to 8 p.m. shift. And so I'd put songs on and then I'd go over to the side and be reading my textbook, studying for finals. And after graduation, I graduated on a Saturday, was commencement, and I'm back to work on Monday. It's like, yeah, so I graduated last weekend or this past weekend, and kind of climactic because I have a
Want to
job
go do the
working in my
same thing?
field.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and unlike a lot of my buddies who were in education or engineering, they're working at pizza shops and they're working at auto parts stores, and here I was, you know, at least employed. I wouldn't say gainfully. I had two
Yes.
raises in the 3 years that I worked in state college. Both were federal mandates and increase in the minimum wage. So it was starvation wages then. But 20 years or so, I ended up in Pittsburgh. I worked for what was then CBS Radio. Now it is known as Odyssey. And I worked at Y108. And I actually had met my wife, and that's how I you know, got to be a doctor's wife. I met her just as she was applying to medical school. So
Very
when
cool.
she finished her training, she kept us in Pittsburgh long enough to finish her training. And then that's when I left and became a voice actor. But now voiceovers for radio is kind of it's starting to shrink. And so
Yeah.
I started this thing as a way to justify the money I spend on my car and the miles and traveling I do to these different car shows. So it's kind of worked out. So we kind of both have found our way into this car world, but with radio background. So I think that's just so cool. So that was so excited to talk to you about the radio part. Now let's talk about how Mel's car shows came about. When did this start?
Well, I had my first car show in 2012. I was the 2011 Clearfield County Fair Queen, and they wanted a new fundraiser. They wanted something fresh. And I said, well, I've always gone to car shows with my dad, so let's have a car show. And the whole committee, of course, was women. And they were like, well, we've never done this before. So run with it. And that was exactly what I did. So I had my first show at the Clearfield County Fairgrounds in 2012, and we had over 100 cars. And being,
Wow.
yes, in central Pennsylvania, for your first show to have over 100 cars, it was awesome. And
Yeah.
so it was so successful. They were like, oh, let's do this again next year. Let's do this again next year. And then that was when Houtzdale Days reached out to me and they said, we're looking for someone to take over our car show. Would you be interested? And I said, well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I know how to run one. So yeah, I'll do that one. And then a couple years later, Madera Fire Company reached out to me. And a few years later, the Hastings Borough reached out to me. And it's kept growing.
Wow. So, the schedule of events that you have on average, how many events are you organizing per season?
This year, we're up to 8 car shows.
Now,
And
do you cap it at all? Do you say that's as many weekends as I can stand being away from my hubby and doing the car show thing?
I haven't capped it yet, but it's gonna have to. This starting this past weekend, I don't have a free weekend until September because
Yeah.
there's something car related every weekend. So I'm gonna have to.
Well, people, when they follow you on social media, they're going to get a heavy dose of car show pictures, and they're also going to see pics of your '49 Chevy pickup Pepper. So we know you like trucks. What other kind of cars excite you? Muscle cars, hot rods, classics, resto mods. Like what's your taste in automobiles?
Well, first off, I have to start. Did you ever hear the story of how I got Pepper?
Well, that was going to be coming up in my next question. So I'd love, yeah, that.
Okay.
Please elaborate on that story.
Well, so I have to go back to my husband. His grandfather has a car lot, and he was at the auction with his pap, and there was this '88 Corvette there. He's like, Pap, I really want this car, really want this car. Well, my husband was only 16 at the time. And he's like, okay, I'll get this car, but you can't have it until you're 18. So he turned 18, and Pap was like, I'm not sure I want you to have this car yet. So Jared went back when he was 21, and his Pap's like, no, I think I'm going to sell it. I'm worried you might get hurt. And Jared was persistent.
Oh.
So a few years later, he went back and he's like, Pap, I want that car. His Pap was like, well, okay, if you can get it running. I think it needed a fuel pump. It was something very simple.
Hmm.
So Jared finally had the car that he waited years for. And a friend of ours that was a member of the Altoona Corvette Club had passed away. And so Jared and I met after work at his celebration of life. Jared felt it was only fitting that he took the Corvette because of
Hmm.
our friend. And I met him after work. So I left the radio station and we met. And my dad had just gotten out of the hospital. So I said, I'm going to go visit my dad and I'll see you at home. Well, we took 2 separate mountains home. Well, talking about
Yeah,
mountains in Pennsylvania.
yeah, yeah.
And I received this text message and there were typos in it. So I didn't understand what it meant. And then a picture came through and the car was on fire. There was a
Oh,
dead short and there was a dead short somewhere. There was no cell phone service. Jared tried like 12 times to get through
oh,
before the call kept dropping. Yes. And so the car was a total loss, being all fiberglass, of course.
yeah.
And so in a couple months later, we traveled clean to Philadelphia and he got a 2000 Corvette. It was everything he dreamed of, black on black, 6 speed. It was awesome. And I had always been looking for a truck like Pepper. And on my lunch break at the radio station, I would cruise the classified ads on penswoods.net. And I came across this truck and I was like, oh my gosh, it's everything I've ever wanted. And that night, my husband and I were sitting on the couch. He said, I found a truck I want you to see. I was like, there's one I want to show you as well. And so we sent each other the links and he sent me a Craigslist ad and it was the same truck. But But in the Craigslist ad, it said willing to trade for a C5 Corvette.
Oh.
Yes. So I believe this was a Tuesday. We called the gentleman, and this was in Culver, Pennsylvania. We called the gentleman and we sent each other pictures of the car. He sent us pictures of the truck. Wednesday night, we went and test drove it. And so we got out of the Corvette, which, as you know, is a handling machine. And we
Yeah.
got into this 49 pickup with a steering wheel this big. And it was like we had balloons for tires and we were bouncing all over. And and then his mom tries to call him. He's like, Mom, I cannot talk right now. I'm trying to drive over here. And so
Yeah,
we
he
get
had
back.
his hands full.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So we get back to the gentleman's house. Of course, he beat us back on the test drive. And so we pull in and we're looking over this truck. And it was really a whole new territory for us. The oldest thing we've been around was my dad's 59. And so we're checking everything over. And the guy's just standing there. And he's like, Well, I'm happy if you're happy. What? Oh my gosh. And so Jared was like, Will this make you happy? I said, Well, of course it'll make me happy, but are you going to be happy?
Yeah.
And so happy life, happy wife. Like he just keeps
Yep.
repeating himself that to him. And so we traded titles and we drove Pepper home that night.
Oh, that's love. That is
It
love.
is. It
I
is. That's
salute
for
you,
sure.
sir.
Yes. Yeah. So, but yes, so Pepper has always been my dream truck. It's what I've wanted since I was going to shows with my dad. I said, Dad, I love your car. Those bubbly fenders, they're so cool. And so that's how we got Pepper. But I enjoy all cars. There are definitely cars that aren't my style, but it is
Mhm.
all car passion. So if you want to drop your car really 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 low, if you want to pick your truck up way high, if you want to make it super loud, if you want to make it super quiet, I appreciate all of it because we all share the same passion for cars. But I do have some other cars. I have a 96 Beretta Z26, which
Oh,
yeah, that was my first car, and that was my commuter to college, and I was in an accident in college, and I always wanted another one. So back in, I believe it was 2015, I found one on Craigslist for $800, and it was in rough shape for $800, of course. So we went and got it, and my dad taught me how to paint it, and I painted the car myself. It's not perfect by any means, but it was such a bonding experience with my dad that we got to
oh
do that
yeah.
together. Yeah. So, and then my husband and we have a 72 Monte Carlo, and
Oh.
we don't have fantastic luck with cars. We took it on our honeymoon and we were rear-ended. And so yes, so we haven't had great luck, but we're making that car what we want it to be now. Whenever growing up with my dad, I was brought up around all original vehicles, keeping things original and classic, and that was what I grew up loving. And then my husband was, let's make them louder, let's make them faster. And
Yeah.
so the Monte Carlo was all original. And I was like, we can't. He was like, oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm like, no, we can't. How many of these exist? We can't. But now that it's already in pieces, we're making it what we want. So I am going more of a pro touring style with it. I have my wheels picked
Ooh.
out. We're going a different paint color, and so I'm very excited to be working on that. So yeah, we have our 49 pickup, our 72 Monte Carlo, and our 96 Beretta.
So now you guys have kids?
We don't. We have two dogs.
Two dogs. Okay. So you have steel babies and fur babies.
Yes. Oh, steel babies. That's fantastic.
Because that's
Yeah,
what I
I'll
always talk
go for
about,
that.
steel babies. And my wife, she thinks I'm so weird because like if we have three vehicles. So we have my Camaro Sunshine that's over that shoulder here. You can see the yellow one.
Okay. Yes.
That's my show car. I have a Colorado pickup truck, and she has a Chevy Equinox. And we had the Equinox was out getting inspected, oil change, and I got a call. Hey, the car's ready. Hey, let's go. Well, no. I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, and we could go later. I was like, well, they're going to close. They're going to close. It's like you'd be fine. It's like I can't stand having one of our steel babies out.
Yes, I understand. I understand. Yes.
I said I
Yeah.
don't
So
want to get it broken into.
do you name all of your cars?
Yes.
So do
So
I. Yes.
yeah, the Camaro is Sunshine because she's an SS, Rally Yellow, and a convertible. The truck is called Chief, And the reason why I named it, I thought that was kind of a nice masculine name for a truck. And my dad, he's an engineer, and a lot of the guys that he worked with, the younger guys, would refer to him as Chief. Hey,
Oh,
Chief, how
that's
you doing,
nice.
Chief? So
Yeah.
the license plate says my Chief. So 2016 Colorado in silver, and then the Equinox is a 2020. We just got it last February, and it's funny, we could not come up with a name for it. She named her Terrain, which was also silver. She named it the Silver Bullet. We just call it Bullet. But over a year we waited, couldn't come up with a name. Finally, I kept seeing the license plate, and it was funny. Her initials are CLY. So we got the first three letters of the license plate were LCY. And I was like, Lucy? Should it be Lucy? And she says, no, I knew a girl in high school who was named Lucy. I didn't like her. I was like, all right, well, how about Elsie? Elsie the Equinox. Yeah, I like that. So Elsie it is.
Well, my daily driver is a Cadillac Escalade, and her name is Lucy. Yeah, yeah. So
Ah!
her name is Lucy. As you know, the 49 is Pepper, and my Beretta is Betty White. Because what's more classic than Betty White, right? And
Yeah.
so the Monte Carlo, when it was brown best, but I'm going to be
Okay.
painting it Daytona blue. And
Ooh.
so I'm thinking Monte Carlo as a nickname because the Monte's name is now Montgomery Carlisle.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I understand you
Okay.
have to get a feel for a car to name it properly. I agree with that.
Yeah, you do. You know, for with the Camaro, it was instant. I traded it in, and it was the kind of deal where I got it on Saturday, and then went home to get the paperwork. Stopped by the dealership on Monday with the title to the trade in, and as I'm walking out, beautiful sunny day, I walked up to it. I'm like, sunshine. There it is. It was like a
Absolutely.
beam of light came down from the heavens, and a choir of angels sang, "Ye shall be called sunshine." So,
Yep, absolutely. I get it.
so what are some of the charities that benefit from car shows organized by Mel's Car Shows?
The ones that I hold for myself, and whenever I say that, I mean the groups that reach out to me, like the Houtzdale Days, the Madera Fire Company, those, of course, go back to their respective charities. So, Houtzdale Days, we raise fund for Kids Day. And so, Kids Day is the last day of Houtzdale Days, and they have all sorts of activities. But that money, if it doesn't all get spent at Houtzdale Days, it goes to their school supply drive in the fall, and then it goes to getting community kids like warm hats and gloves at Christmas time.
Oh wow!
So
So
that's where
gets
Houtzdale
a
Days goes to.
gets a couple bites of the apple there.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the Madera Car Show goes back to the Madera Fire Company. The Hastings Car Show goes to the Hastings Borough, and that benefits the park and pool. So that is revamping their pool. They needed a new pump in their pump house. So that goes back to the Hastings community in that way. And new this year, we have the Glen Hope Car Show. So that is going to benefit their community park. There are some of their pavilions that need new roofs on them. There are some trees that need trimmed, and that's where the money is going to go there. And new also is the Burnside Car Show. So that is going to benefit the Burnside Borough. And they're working on fixing up their community building. They want it to be a place where people can hold parties, if they want to have a wedding reception, if they want to just have any kind of get together. They want to fix up their building so that the community has a place to go. So, other than those ones, the shows that I hold for myself, which are the ones held at the Super 322 Drive-In, and
Hmm.
also the one at the Janesville Dam. And the Janesville Dam is very special to me because it's only about 2 miles from where I grew up. And everybody just loved it. They said, we never would have guessed there was such a nice place back here. And that's what I love about holding the shows in these little towns because so many, like we get a big crowd from Altoona, from State College, we get crowds from bigger towns. And so they don't know there are these nice little places hidden. But I have donated to, of course, the Children's Miracle Network, which that's what my very first car show benefited from. And I also donate to Easter for Eli. And have you heard of Easter for Eli?
Uh, from following your social, yeah.
Okay. Yes. So Easter for Eli, Martin Garrett started that in memory of his son, Eli, who passed away from cancer. But he takes Easter baskets to kids all over the East Coast that are in the hospital over Easter. And so that's why I like to
Oh,
donate to them. Yes.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing some fantastic work, and using your passion for cars to make places better, and the fact that you do a lot of local stuff, that it stays local. Because I think that's always very important. There have been times where I've gone to car shows, and I always look for what is the signature charity,
Mm,
because I've been to some car shows that it turns out it's a cash grab for the organizers.
mm,
And, that's not why I go out to show my car. I go out to show my car to share it with other people, to enjoy the day, and to give back, for my good fortune, and be grateful for it, and be able to give back to the community, and to these causes. So when I don't see a charity named, I kind of get a little suspicious. So
absolutely. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's all about giving. And there are so many people at at registration, they'll give an extra donation because they say,
mhm,
"Oh, it's for the kids," or "Oh, it's for a good cause." And it warms my heart to have those generous people that do that.
that is awesome. So what is? Oh, let me see. I look at my notes here. I don't want to forget one of my most important questions for you. All right.
Okay.
How often are you approached for people looking for some big burly old dude named Mel?
All the time. All the time. Yes. Or a lot of people assume that my dad would be Mel. And
Ah!
yeah, so I'm trying to think of when it was. There was someone angry on Facebook that they didn't place, and they said, "Well, I know Mel and his son and his grandson." I'm like, "That's weird. That's weird. I didn't know I had grandchildren." Yes. So all the time, there people will approach, excuse me, the registration table, and they'll say, "I want to speak to who's in charge here," and I'll just, "How can I help you?" "No, I want to know who's running this." And I said, "That's me. How can I help?" There's usually a slight attitude change if they're angry about
Yeah.
something. Yes, but all the time, and that's recently on Instagram, I shared a video, and the title of it was "Most People Assume That Mel is a Guy." And then there
Yeah.
were all these videos of and pictures of me at car shows, and I had a few comments. "Yeah, that's what I thought too. Good job." So yes, all the time. People think Mel is a guy. They don't think that it's short for Melanie.
Well, I know better. One of my radio colleagues was a woman named Melanie, and she was Mel. Melanie
Yes.
Mel. Yeah. So
Yes, I get Melly Mel quite a bit.
I was not surprised. What I was surprised is how deep your roots in the car hobby are, and the fact that you now work for a company like UMI Performance, and so you are in cars 24/7, 365. Now,
Yes, all the time.
also, instead of not just on four wheels, but you and your husband are also on two wheels occasionally, are you not?
Yes, yes, we have a motorcycle, we have an ultra classic, and her name's Amelia. Which
That is
actually,
awesome.
and there's a story about how we got Amelia as well. So my husband was browsing the car ads and he came across this 47 Chevy Stylemaster. He's like, "We have to have this." And I'm like, "We don't have garage space now." And so we went and looked at it, and she she was all original, and
Oh,
she was kept. She's like, "Oh, it was garage kept." We're like, "Oh, that's awesome." There was also like a drainage ditch running through this garage, and the garage was heated. So she had freckles of rust all over her. And
oh,
I wasn't sure. I said, "I'm not sure about this one." And the seller was like, "Oh, I have people coming from Pittsburgh tomorrow." And I said to Jared, I said, let's wait a day. If the people from Pittsburgh don't buy it, we'll take it as a sign and we'll get it. And he's like, "No, we're car people and we're gonna get this car." I'm like, "Okay." So we brought her home, and she had the same engine as Pepper, straight six, and
Mhm.
but she was three on the tree. Pepper's a four on the floor. And it was 47, and that's the year that my dad was born. And my dad's name is Frank. And I said, "Well, let's name her Frances." So
Ha
we had Frances for a while, and we got her in better running condition. And we changed some bearings on her, and just just got her in better running shape. New tires were definitely a must. And so we got her all up and running. But my father-in-law has a motorcycle and he's like, I want to ride with my dad. Like I grew up riding with him on his motorcycle. He's like, I want to be able to ride with him. So he put an ad up, will trade your motorcycle. And I said, I didn't want this car. Now I fell in love with her and now you're trading her. So, but yeah, that's how we got Amelia.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, it goes to show you, he traded his vet for Pepper, so you traded
Yes.
Francis for the
Yes. I
motorcycle.
got what I wanted out of one. So yes, he got what he wanted out of another.
Well, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. I'm just so thrilled to finally meet you, and after following you on social media, the good works that you do through your car shows.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to taking Sunshine for a little drive, from Lycoming County all the way out to Clearfield and Blair counties, and
That would be awesome.
taking some car shows with you guys, because it's oh man, it's been far too long. This
Yes.
this last
Yes, it
year, it
has.
feels like we're going through spring from February of 2020. So
Yes, it does.
we're looking forward to it. And I also wanted to present you with a little gift for being our guest. When you shared your photos with us, I took your image of Pepper and I gave it the Car Show Life Car Art treatment. So
Yeah.
Phoebe, if you could post that up for her. So
Oh, thank you
we gave it
so
a little
much.
oil painting sketch look and a little
Yeah.
custom logo there for you.
Oh, that
So
is so nice.
I'll send you a digital copy suitable for framing.
Oh, thank you so much. That was so kind of you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank your husband for his production assistance
Yeah,
in
I know.
setting up the lighting and the camera. And if you want to see the full lineup for 2021, visit facebook.com/Mel's Car Shows. And if you need a gift for your car loving mom for Mother's Day, hit us up at carshowlife.net/shop. And it's also good for dads for Father's Day, too, or for any occasion. So thank you, Mel, for joining us. That's going to do it for this edition of Car Show Life. In the meantime, you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Car Show Life Back in Hood Up. You can email me directly at info@carshowlife.net. And you can always leave a comment here on NorthcentralPA.com. Again, my thank you to Melanie Henry of Mel's Car Shows. Big thank you to Phoebe Freer for her production assistance and everyone at North Central PA Media. I'm Drake Donovan. Go out there and live that car show life back in Hood Up. We'll see you next time.